Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Preaching to the Choir. Happy Sunday to you. If it's your first time, welcome. If it's your second or 10th time, welcome back. I've been doing this for months on Patreon and decided last week to post on the Mike Force Podcast Sunday edition on YouTube, as well as my Substack. I'll link all of those down below. If you want to help me out, wherever you're at, subscribe. Hit that notification tab, the likes, the comments. They help with an engagement and bring the suppressed content that's buried under YouTube. It helps bring it to the surface. I started this journey on Patreon months ago because I wanted to talk about God, especially as it related to my personal experiences. This isn't me on a platform or a pedestal talking down to you. It's me talking eye to eye, face to face, peer to peer. And it's important that I have this conversation with you because it helps me. It is my therapy. Selfishly, I want to say it's about you, but it's about me. I hope in that honesty and truth that you found value out of this, because you might be struggling with the same things, and that's okay. We're all struggling in some way. Today's subject matter is speaking about how walking in faith is a lonely road. It often is. Why is it a lonely road? Well, let's think about it. Most of my friends, very close friends, aren't religious people. If I started talking about God even in this format, those people would fall off. They already have. Isn't that interesting? The people in my life who I love, who are friends and family, that are more closely connected with God, double down on their faith and reinforce mine with their words of affirmation, their positive feedback. Isn't that what you should do in a fellowship, in a tribe, with people you love? So, a lot of you are used to appeasing people. I've been there before, but now I'm over it. And that is the profound lesson learned. Because I don't care what people think. I don't care about judgment. I don't care about consequence when it comes to friendships, relationships being lost over me having conviction in my faith. If you don't like it, get off the train at the next stop. I'll even slow roll for you and let you jump off anytime you want. The reality is to make that step moving forward, because your Christian journey might have begun when you were young, a kid, going to church, getting saved, getting baptized. For me, that was the case. It might even start for you right now when you put down the phone, shut your laptop, turn off the TV, and you're like, you know what? Mike's right. I'm going to have conviction and voice my opinion in my faith. It is the core of my values, and it should be. You don't have to virtue signal by doing a post on social media. You just need to walk with God in honesty and truth. And that relationship between you and him, which is a very personal relationship, you don't need a manufactured process in order for you to worship God and talk about God at your dinner table, bedside, on your knees in prayer with your family. Not just on Sunday, but on Monday morning. Aren't you tired of appeasing people? I know I am. I'm tired of it. I don't have it in me anymore, but that's who I used to be. I was Sean Ryan's first podcast because Sean was a friend of mine, and I say was. We don't really talk anymore, but we were friends. We worked together in the CIA. He was a SEAL. I was a SF guy. We deployed to Yemen and Iraq, and then we kind of joined forces, crossing paths in our parallel entrepreneurship journeys. Him in tactical, me in survival, and it was awesome. We did the $50 go bag at Walmart. Really fun. And then I did his podcast, which was really impactful for me. When I first saw Sean Ryan come out and talk about his faith, I had a visceral reaction like, why is he doing that? Is he trying to market? What is he trying to do? And I had a visceral reaction to it that wasn't his problem but mine, because I was jealous, more envious than anything. that this man had the audacity to talk about his faith. And then I looked myself in the mirror, in the camera, and said, why are you feeling this way? Why is this your reaction to somebody who's walking with Christ, with God? You should be happy for them. And I wasn't, because I was envious that I didn't have the personal courage to do it myself, because I wanted to appease the masses. When the conflict and the controversies came, I didn't talk about God because I wanted to be quiet. The humble Christian. No, I was just scared. I was scared and fearful of the attacks, the criticism, of it impacting my business, my financial situation, my sponsorships. Because who would sponsor a Green Beret talking about God and faith? And not guns and tactics. And then getting over the hump, rolling downhill, sliding downhill with no control, finding myself waking up at the bottom of a ditch, the bottom of a draw, if you're into terrain features. And then I realized this is exactly where God put me for a reason. And now I'm okay with offending people. I'm okay with doing content across all the platforms and talking about God in my journey, walking in faith alone. And I don't care if I offend one person or 1,000,000 people. Galatians 1:10, for reference, it's in the description, says, for am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I was still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Isn't it true? If you're so concerned about appeasing a man or men or people, the masses, your followers, your friends and your family, at the same time, you wouldn't be a servant of Christ. So when you become a servant of Christ and you get vocal and you tell people about your love of God and Christ and faith in this journey that you're on, well, people fall off. Nearly every one of my friends has fallen off. Not because I've necessarily talked about God, because the situation I'm in is just too murky. Maybe the relationship was too transactional and now it's loaded with liability. But that's okay. Because at the top, you have a lot to contend with, to deal with, to manage. But as you start straining and distilling your faith, what you get concentrated at the bottom is the best. And that's why often walking in faith is a lonely road. You can't walk in truth and be everyone's favorite. Especially nowadays when the world, this country, its people hates the truth. Matthew 7:13-14 says, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. Yeah, it's a really great analogy. That the open, unobstructed, no obstacles, open field and path are the easiest ones. And everybody's rolling through them. It's easy to be a heathen, a sinner, an atheist, a non-believer. Because when you believe, you have to hold yourself accountable. Look yourself in the mirror and be vulnerable for the first time likely in your life. But if you're just a heathen and you don't care about anybody, including yourself, well, that path is easy to walk. We know where that road ends. When you choose obedience over acceptance, the crowd goes one way, faith walks the other. That's typically how it works. You see it online. Look at these people who have no moral value, no tethering to faith, no structure for guidance, for walking a path with God. Sure, millions of followers, probably making millions of dollars. John 15:18-19. If the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you as its own. But because you are not of the world, therefore the world hates you. You're not here to blend in. You're not here to stand out. You're here for him in this journey. How many of you want to appease the masses? How many of you want the approval of random strangers on social media? How many of you are judging others that are going through difficult times because you're so caught up in it? When I find myself slipping down that slippery slope, looking and digging and Googling, and I'm like, what am I doing? How gross is this? That this is my life. That I've been on this phone for an hour, death scrolling, looking at stories that have no context in my life journey. That is only distracting me from what I love, the memories to be made, the significance of our path and journey walking with God. And it's only distracting from that because I'm so caught up in it. And man, have you heard the excuses? There's so many. There's so many. Every friend I've confronted, every family member I've confronted, they have the excuses. At the same time, they claim to walk with God. There is no excuse. You don't owe anybody anything but God, but Christ, but your family. One time, a good friend of mine mentioned to me when we were talking about death and funerals and how when somebody comes to your funeral and they sit in a row, there's 3 different rows. The third row is supporting the second row. They don't even know who you are. They saw it on social media. They showed up and they're supporting the second row. They got their cell phones out. They're probably capturing it for the stories. The second row, they know who you are. They think they know you, but they don't know you like the first row knows you. The first row is the people you love. It's your family, your very close friends that have likely walked the path with you in Christ and in God. The moral of that story, you're performing for 3 rows, and the only row that matters is row 1. 2 Timothy 3:12 says, indeed, all who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. He was persecuted for standing up and vocalizing the truth. Not a truth, but the truth. So when you do it, the same will happen to you. Don't be surprised when rejection follows righteousness. You're going to be rejected. You're going to be criticized. You're going to be judged. You're going to be forgotten and abandoned. And that's okay. There's plenty of brothers and sisters who are going to walk with you. And that's okay. You don't need the appeasement of anybody. You weren't called to appease. You were called to obey. That's the point. This path of faith, sure, it's lonely. It's misunderstood. And it's mostly uphill. It's a path and a journey most don't want to undertake because there's too much criticism. There's too much difficulty in the obstacles you have to overcome. But it's also the path where Christ walks beside you. He's not in front of you. He's not behind you. He's hand in hand walking beside you. And it's better to stand alone in truth than be embraced by a world built on lies. It's all a lie, guys. All the things that you see on every social media application that's meant to gather and exploit your attention, to digress and manipulate you away from Christ and God, it's all by design. I appreciate you guys. I hope the message resonates. The philosophical conversation is the easy part. The hard part is to live it. Have the personal courage walking into this week in your faith and let nothing, especially another man or men or people, stand in your way. God bless. Love you guys.